What's up, everybody? It's Trey Smith with College Game Time, and the dominoes have started falling, and we're going to discuss that right now today on this video. But before I do, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, watch it to the end, comment at the end, share it with a friend, all of that good stuff. And if you're feeling generous, leave me a super thanks. Also, at some point today, go visit collegegametime.com. I've got a piece up about from a couple of days ago as far as about my time at the American Athletic Conference Media Days. College Game Time is an official credentialed outlet for that conference now. And, it's only the beginning. And speaking of the AAC, a couple of teams I'll be discussing here as it pertains to this realignment madness that's happening. Dominoes are falling, and I'm going to give some of my thoughts as to what some American athletic teams should be leery of before they just get excited about joining the Pac-12, more so the fans. So the Buffs are in. The Buffs are headed to the Big 12. Colorado is headed back home. It's official. And listen, what makes this move so exciting for the Big 12, the huge X factor, is Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. What he's already done to generate fan interest for that program and just national attention on that program, which kind of just fell in the Pac-12's lap, and now they've let it go. That was one of the things I said they cannot do. I said it over a month ago. It might have been almost 2 months ago. I said, okay, in the midst of all this, the Pac-12 cannot lose Colorado. They can't lose them. Not because Colorado's just had this, illustrious history over the last 10 years since joining the conference, but because they just brought in, the most sought after, most famous, nationally recognized coach, former athlete in Deion Sanders. And I mean, it's almost like Deion to Boulder has had what the Messi effect has had on Inter Miami in the MLS. Seriously, that's a legitimate, bargaining tool you have for media discussions or media negotiations. So anyways, obviously we talked last week about reacted to some of the things Kliavkoff said at Pac-12 Media Days, which everything's coming tumbling down now. So the Buffs are in. So the question is, who's next? What's next? Well, a lot of smoke right now. A lot of smoke around more Pac-12 teams jumping ship. Here's what I'm not sure of, and as far as who I'm reaching out to. Okay, I don't know how much of this, as far as the other teams, is basically trying to light a fire under their own commissioner. Because the reality is, and I don't know how many, I don't know if there's a cap, but as far as that pro rata clause, it doesn't matter if they come from a Power 5 conference, so any of these Pac schools, whether they're the last place team or the first place team, they will be subsidized into the current media deal with ESPN for the Big 12. Now, who does the Big 12 want? I mean, I think it's been pretty clear. We've seen 4 corner schools, but the ones that are really interesting right now is this Oregon and Washington situation. Okay, Oregon and Washington, there's some smoke around them possibly joining. I think Yormark is only going to take 4 teams this round. So you also can't forget about UConn. I think Yormark really wants UConn. I think he wants to be in that Northeast territory. And just on the basketball side of things, that's a massive get. I mean, really, if you remove Deion Sanders from the equation with Colorado, that's doesn't feel like the big grand slam move that it feels like right now. He's a huge part of that. In the belief people have in what he's already done from a national attention standpoint with the program, but 2, people thinking he can replicate what he did at Jackson State at Colorado as well and make them a really competitive, not just on the field, but in recruiting all the way around. Anyways, but Oregon and Washington. So who's it going to be? And this is the discussion for the comments, right? Is it going to be Arizona next? That's the one I've been saying. I think them and Colorado this whole time. Well, I kind of know for a fact. I mean, there was some brass from Colorado in Dallas the week of the Big 12 Media Days. Now, I can't confirm if there was a direct connection here or not, but I know for a fact they were in town because I got a text from someone that was on a JSX flight, which JSX is a semi-private flight, who put eyeballs on specific individual. Again, whatever. But I'm just saying, I don't know if the next move is Utah, Arizona, Arizona State. Is it Oregon, Washington, Arizona? Is it Arizona, Oregon, UConn? I mean, we could sit here and play musical chairs all day, but what are you thinking? What is anybody in this discussion on this channel? I mean, what are you hearing? What are your thoughts? You know, some of this, it's what are you hearing? And then some of this, it's read the tea leaves. Read the writing on the wall. I mean, I've been saying this was going to happen for over a month and a half, and I didn't really start getting like actual sourced information till like, you know, probably a couple weeks into that. But if you pay attention and you actually look at what's happening, it's not that difficult to put two and two together. So that leads to what's the Pac-12 doing, right? There was a tweet that went out. I don't have it in front of me. I don't know if this is how credible it is, but it had some schools we've seen that Kliavkoff has been in contact with SMU. I think Tulane, UNLV, and Colorado State were the four schools. UNLV and Colorado State, absolutely. Because whatever piece they get off of whatever the Pac-12 ends up getting will be better than what they're getting in the Mountain West. Here's why teams like SMU and Tulane need to just be a little leery, particularly these SMU fans who are just like so eager to get into the Pac-12. You need to wait and let this thing play out. Because if the Pac-12, which is about now the Pac-9, ends up by the end of the day or the end of the week being the Pac-6, which it could very well be, or the Pac-7, whatever deal they end up getting, they're going to have to pay. Like, first off, let's start here. They're not going to get a deal that is large enough to pay 10 to 12 teams 30 plus million a year. So what are they going to do? They're going to get whatever they can get, and then they're going to structure the payouts where the existing remaining 6 or 7 schools get that 30 plus million a year, if possible, which means that the newcomers are going to get whatever's left over, which probably won't be very much. Now, if you're a Mountain West school used to bringing in 2 to 4 million a year, for sure it'll be more than that. But if you're an American athletic team that is used to bringing in, on the current deal, anywhere between 7 to 11 million a year, I don't think it's crazy to say that the Pac-12 may not be able to pay that to a newcomer the first, I don't know how many, but at least the first couple of years, given the fact that they're going to probably have to spend the most of what they get on the teams that are already, institutions that are already there, that they're trying to keep. I hope how I'm communicating this is making sense. In other words, it's not crazy to think that the newcomers coming into the Pac-12, if it's 4 or 5 teams, their share would only be, I don't know, 2 to 5, 5 to 6, something like that, something incredibly low, because I don't think they're going to get enough to be able to pay, hey, the existing members 30 plus million, and then the 4 or 5 newcomers another 15 to 20 million. I just don't think that's going to be the case. I think the newcomers are going to have to take maybe between, 5 to 10. Now, if you're a Mountain West team, that's fine. That's great. But if you're an American athletic team, like, not only is that something you have to take into consideration because that's already in the range that you're already making, but then also let's talk about competitive advantages. I mean, is it really that much easier to make the CFP with the expanded playoff in the Pac-12 as it is the AAC? No. I mean, with the new 6-6 model, you have the top 6 conference champions and the next 6 at large. So you have just as much of an opportunity either way. And then you have to look at the visibility, right? The 3 reasons why you change conferences are revenue, increased revenue, are increased visibility and then increased like competitive advantage. Like you have more of a chance to compete at the national level. Well, I don't know that you have more of a chance than you do with in the Pac-12 than you do with the AAC with the expanded playoff. I don't know that you're going to get increased revenue, at least to start off. And again, let me make this clear. I'm speaking in terms as if the Pac ends up losing 2 to 3 more heavy hitters, like Oregon, like Washington, Arizona, right? I'm talking if they end up losing 2 or 3 of those guys, in addition to Colorado, that's the perspective I'm coming from. So I don't know that you're going to get increased revenue leaving the AAC because I don't know, as I've already said, that they're going to be able to hit that number early on. And then the third thing is increased visibility. Well, depending on what this media deal is, if it's 90% streaming, you're not going to get more visibility than you are in the AAC. The AAC at least has this $1 billion media rights deal with ESPN. And yes, a lot of it is streaming. A lot of it is ESPN Plus. But guess what? More people have ESPN Plus than they do Apple TV or whatever other streaming partner they might be dealing with. I think we all know at this point it's Apple TV. So, and not only that, but a lot of American athletic games get put on the ESPNU, the ESPN2, channels like that. In fact, I think even TCU, SMU, I'd have to look, was on one of the, was that an ABC game last year, maybe? If not, I think it may have been on ESPN. I'd have to look. I'm just saying, so you still get linear exposure through your deal with ESPN and the AAC. And then even the streaming that you're on, like most people have ESPN Plus. Like personally, as a fan, like I have ESPN Plus because I can use that for a bunch of other things other than just like American athletic football. I can watch all kinds of different things. ESPN Plus, I have benefit to getting ESPN Plus, whereas like Apple TV, I don't have that. And like, I'm not going to get that just to watch Pac-12 football unless like there's a draw there, like a Deion Sanders there or something like my team is playing there, something like that would make me want to go get it. Because honestly, if I go get an Apple TV subscription, the only thing I'm able to watch is soccer and Pac-12 football, assuming that's the media outlet they're negotiating with. Whereas with ESPN Plus, like I can get access to a lot of other things, including AAC football. So again, and then SMU, okay, fair enough. They're so giddy about going Power 5, which all that's been disrupted anyways. Okay, money's not an issue for them. So if they think, okay, that they're better off playing all these West Coast teams, playing in the conference off its namesake, the Pac-12, even though it's a completely different Pac-12 than we know. To me, what made that so what's the word I'm looking for? Enticing before was, yeah, you can increase your interest in the DFW when you have teams like Oregon and Washington and Coach Prime-led Colorado team coming to town, opposed to, the teams they currently have. But if none of those teams are in the conference and you're basically swapping out American teams coming to town versus low-tier Pac-12 teams and Mountain West backfill teams, I mean, are you really getting the bang for your, is that really a good trade-off considering the travel you're going to be doing? But anyways, money's not really an issue at SMU. We all know that. Let's leave them. The school I really don't understand is Tulane. Not from a competitive standpoint. I think Tulane could absolutely compete in that conference. I mean, they just beat the Heisman Trophy winner and the Pac-12 runner-up in the Cotton Bowl. And so that's not the issue, but literally Tulane in the very east, like southern east point of Louisiana, I mean, they would literally be on an island. In every away game, they'd be traveling to the complete opposite side of the country for what? Increased exposure? No. Not if it's 90% streaming with Apple TV or 80% streaming with Apple TV or even their linear partner ends up being someone that's not carried by the typical streaming services. Okay, so you have that to factor in. Are you going to get more money? Well, I mean, if you look at Tulane, I would imagine their revenue for this past season is going to be close to what Cincinnati's was. I think Cincy had like 11 million, and that may have been the playoff year, so it may not be that high, but somewhere, in that ballpark. Excuse me, thought my phone was on silent. Put $1 in the jar for that. So, what was I saying? Tulane, yeah. So money, well, I guess again that depends, because as I already said at the beginning of the video, earlier in the video, about the revenue split with whatever deal the Pac-12 gets. So not only are they on an island and having to travel across to the other side of the country, literally for every away game, not only are you possibly not even going to be getting that much more revenue, and then are you really at a competitive advantage? Like, are you really in a better opportunity in the Pac-12 to make a playoff appearance or a playoff run in the expanded conference than you are the AAC? Like, I don't think so. So someone break this down for me, simple and plain. I understand Colorado State and I understand UNLV, because whatever they could get from the Pac-12 is for sure going to be, or the Pac whatever, is for sure going to be higher than what they get from the Mountain West. That's not the case with the American. The American, they pay almost double what the Mountain West pays annually. So, yeah. Well, that's about all I have for today. I'm curious to know your thoughts down in the comments. And as always, let's continue to follow this story. That's it for me, Trey Smith, College Game Time.